Hello everyone, welcome to our project presentation regarding causal modeling with variational autoencoder. This work is part of our curriculum for our course Special Topics in Data Science at Northeastern University under the guidance of Professor Robert Ness. The group members are Farhanur Ansari, Gourang Patel, Vidhey Oza, and myself, Sarang Pande. All of us are pursuing Master of Science in Data Science at Northeastern University. With the introduction completed, let's move to the objective of our project. So the goal of our project is identifying causal relationships on our D-Sprite dataset containing images and applying causal operations. Apart from that, we'll also perform counterfactual queries on the dataset. Moving to the dataset overview part, D-Sprite dataset contains 2D images of 64 by 64 size with 6 independent factors. It contains a total of 737,280 images. The independent factors are: first, the color that contains only one value, which is white. The shape, it contains 3 types, which is square, ellipse, and heart. The scale property regulates the size of the shape as shown in these two pictures. The orientation controls the rotation of the shape as shown in these two pictures, while the position X and position Y regulates the position of the shape across the X-axis and the Y-axis. So, what is an variational autoencoder? First of all, it is a generative model. It takes in an image, moves along the encoder network, and bottlenecks into two vectors, mean vector and sigma vector. These vectors are then used to generate sample latent variables, which is then passed through the decoder network to reconstruct the image. While encoding, it performs the dimensionality reduction part by reducing the image array into two vectors of mean and standard deviation. So the main components of our code are: first, the encoder, which is a 5-layer neural network. It takes in the image array and the independent factors, which are one-hot encoded, and returns the mean and standard deviation vectors. The decoder part, which is also a 5-layer neural network, it takes in the sample latent variable generated using mean and standard deviation vectors and returns the reconstructed image. The variational autoencoder part, it has 3 main functions. First, setup network. It initializes the encoder and the decoder. Secondly, the remap Y, which one hot encodes the image labels, generating an array of 144 columns with ones and zeros. The third, reconstruct image. It reconstructs the image from the original image array and the labels. Fourth, but not the least, the structural causal model. It takes in the variational autoencoder object, the mean and standard deviation vectors. It also has a function called as update noise SVI, which takes in the exogenous variables to update the noise. Moving on to the process, first of all, we take the dataset and we split the dataset into training and testing data. Then we train our variational autoencoder model, which is then used to visualize the accuracy by reconstructing a random image from our dataset. Then we initialize our structural causal model, pass in the variational autoencoder, and then we visualize if our SCM model can reconstruct an image. Once we confirm that our SCM model can generate an image, we perform our tasks. Firstly, perform conditioning on the SCM model for any of the independent variable. Then we perform intervention to reconstruct an image by fixing one of the independent variables. Lastly, we perform a counterfactual to answer questions like, had the shape been a heart, what would the image look like? Moving on to our results. For the variational autoencoder part, our reconstruction of an image using the original image data and labels worked perfectly as shown in the images. For our SCM model, we performed intervention on the position X of our image, and the result clearly shows how our shape moved towards the other side of the image while retaining all the other 5 independent factors. We also performed conditioning on the scale factor to get a much larger shape of our image. For the counterfactual, we successfully answered our question of what would the image look like had the shape been of a heart. The image clearly showcases that. Moving on, for the optimization part, with around 750,000 images, the training of our model would have been a tough task, or rather a speed breaker. So we optimized our code by using GPU processing and also by simply saving our model weights post-training so that we don't have to spend time retraining our model and thus increasing our overall productivity. Finally, the applications. We can use variational autoencoders to generate fake human faces. Deep faces is one such form of AI that uses variational autoencoders to alter images by changing a person with someone else. It can also be used to produce purely synthetic music. Music VAE is one such tool that uses variational autoencoders to create musical score. So that concludes our main part. We would like to thank our professor and his team of TA for the tremendous support they have provided us. Also, the team at Pyro.ai for excellently articulating about variational autoencoders on their site. That's all for our project. Thank you.